Yo, what is up, guys? This is the Brick Dough here, and today is July 25th, which actually marks the last day of the virtual San Diego Comic-Con, and we had no LEGO exclusives this year in 2021, so a bit unusual. We've had exclusive LEGO coming from San Diego Comic-Con since 2008, and even last year during the pandemic, if you guys remember, they had the San Diego Comic-Con sets releasing on traditional retailer websites kind of throughout that fall period. And so I just kind of want to talk about that personally, and what my thoughts are on it, and maybe some of the reasons why LEGO skipped out this year. So, like I said, as you guys remember last year, there was just a lot of fiasco with releasing these sets to traditional retailers and the availability for consumers. So usually, right, if it's a normal Comic-Con year in person, you basically have to be at the event and get pretty lucky in these drawings to get the exclusive minifigures, the exclusive sets. And that's just sort of the deal, and honestly, a lot of just normal LEGO fans, basically 99.9% of them, just aren't going to have the opportunity to pick them up, in person and win that raffle. Like, it's just not really realistic. So traditionally, you'd have to go on eBay, sort of that week or whatever, and, pick off the ones you wanted, and they went for a lot of money on eBay. And, personally for me, it was never something that I collected. I do feel like, in general, only the hardcore collectors, would really pay up for a lot of these sets, and which makes sense. I mean, they're usually pretty small, and like I said, they went for like a couple $100s a lot of times, so that makes sense. But it was always neat seeing what they chose to make the exclusive Marvel minifigure be, or what they chose this little Star Wars vignette to be this year. It was always something I kind of looked forward to, even though it wasn't sets that I collected or realistically that I was going to be able to afford on the secondary market like eBay. So in summary, in the past, it was something I looked forward to seeing, what was going to be the exclusives at the San Diego Comic-Con, but not something that I was going to pick up, more of just sort of like an exciting piece of LEGO news to release during the summer and whatnot. And this year, I didn't really feel like I missed out on the excitement surrounding, the release or seeing the first images and whatnot. It just sort of skipped over for me, honestly. And I think that is in part due to what happened last year in 2020, which is like what I want to kind of talk about, and maybe a possibility of why LEGO maybe sort of decided not to go the sort of untraditional route of making it available to retailers and then them releasing it. So specifically the Nebulon B frigate, if you guys remember, it's available kind of in and out on the retailer website, but it was super kind of sketchy where there's eBay sellers with 500 plus quantity available, and it was always just sort of a question mark how they were going through these quantity sort of loops and just things like that. It seemed like there's a lot of loopholes being used, and at the end of the day, it just kind of left a lot of question marks for me about how that stuff kind of happened. And if it was one of those things where it was exclusive, one per household, and it's pretty strict on that, and someone decides to sell their set that they get, I have no problem with that, but it just didn't really add up of how some of these eBay sellers had 500 plus. And I think, like most people, some of this stuff started to overshadow, the advantages of, having Comic-Con exclusive sets available to people not at the convention, making it a bit greater possibility to get for the average, I would say, collector, consumer. Some of these, I'd say, downsides, like I said, just really overshadowed that. For me personally, I think a lot of other people as well, it was just a little bit frustrating. And I just don't think it was that smooth of a process. Just wasn't thought out as well as it could have been, and just led to some kind of issues, I would say. And I think the LEGO community, at large was sort of felt the same way a little bit last year, just an overall frustrating experience. And I can see LEGO's perspective of not really wanting to go through that fiasco again and getting some backlash, I would say, at large from the LEGO community. And maybe the best decision is to sort of just regroup this year and sort of maybe get ready for more of a traditional Comic-Con experience next year and revert back to maybe how it used to be, or come up with some other innovative solution that isn't, what we had last year. And I'm sure this is pretty disappointing for the hardcore collectors who might have, every San Diego Comic-Con Star Wars exclusive, and whatnot, and missing out on a year might be a little disappointing. But at this point, it sort of just is what it is, and mostly I'm kind of interested to see what they do next year for San Diego Comic-Con. Will they go back to the original format, or will it be something new? And who knows at this point. But yeah, I just think it's sort of an interesting, topic of discussion, surrounding this LEGO Comic-Con this weekend. And if you guys have any thoughts on it, please feel free to comment below. Anyway, guys, this is the Brick Joe signing off.